I don't really hear a lot of people talking about this. Can I tell you one person who I think really screwed them and that they really missed big time in this series with the Dodgers?
Zach Wheeler?
That's the obvious one. That's not who I'm thinking of, though.
Lights fade out on the city skyline. Two towns drowning in their headlines. Stats can't save us, hopes run dry. We're all just fans asking why. Misery loves company, and we've got plenty to share. New York's crying, Phillies screaming, and no one left to care. Fanatics and analytics, where hope comes to rot.
Hey everyone, welcome to episode 74. We have what seems like recently has been pretty consistently another sad episode as we mourn the 2025 Philadelphia Phillies, who lost in the NLDS in 4 games to the Dodgers in just as miserable of a way to lose a game and a series as you can really create. And I know, Sistad, you'll talk about it and your feelings about it, but it's really just seems like this was it for the core, and there was just something about it. There was something about them that they weren't good enough. And this year, this version of the core, they're high end offensive players who mostly had great seasons. Bryce Harper was very good. Kyle Schwarber was incredible. Trey Turner was great, and they all three of them really were just they gave you nothing in the series. And that combined with no Zach Wheeler for the series or an injured Ranger Suarez, it just wasn't enough against a great Dodgers team. So before we get into the series, what are your overall feelings on the 2025 season?
My feelings are, though, we could probably dig up this episode that we did last year and just copy and paste it, so I don't have to do this right now. No, I mean, I feel exactly the same as I felt the past 2 years. It's been the same story. You know, they have a really fun regular season, and it's good, and it's great, and it's cool, and it's a lot of fun during the summer months, and then they get to this part of the playoffs, and they all just go really cold. And I don't know if it's just something as like a different approach or a different hitting coach or something, but I mean, these guys just can't. On one hand, I want to say, they can't do that, obviously, right? The top 3, the big 3 in the lineup have to perform better. But then I look at a team like the Dodgers, and it's not like Ohtani, Mookie, and Freeman were carving them up the entire series. They just had, their 4 through 9 got the hits that they needed to. So on one hand, it's baseball, but like you said, at this point, it's now been 3 straight years of this, and now everyone's getting a little bit older. They're going to have contract situations coming up this offseason to address, so it's not feeling very good. But I mean, my overall thoughts are just here it's Groundhog Day. Here we go again. I'm not surprised at all. It's really, I know I said this last year and you kind of made fun of me, but now the temperature of the city of Philadelphia is catching up to me now. And they're the 76ers. I'm not surprised when they get eliminated from the playoffs and they look exactly the same. And then they make very minor changes during the offseason and leading up to the trade deadline. And it's I don't know. Why would I expect anything different at this point?
Yeah, that's fair. Let's talk about the last play. Let's talk about the Kirkering play. For those of you that have, I can't imagine anyone's listening or watching to this that hasn't seen the play. Just complete panic play. Easy, got out of was out of the inning, had an easy ground ball, bobbled it, fine, recovered, and then just panicked. He had an easy out of first. You had JT Realmuto pointing, go to first, and he just, not only does he decide to throw home, which was the wrong decision, but I can't imagine throwing a worse throw from 10 feet away.
Yeah, it was just an all-time choke job. I mean, he fielded it. He didn't field it cleanly, but in that moment when he went back to field it, he just panicked, and you
Hmm.
could see, like, you could kind of see it in his eyes as the play was going on. And yeah, JT is standing up, pointing to first base, and he just did a really stupid thing. Um, he just had a horrible throw. It had no chance, and that's how their season ended. Um,
Did it seem
I
real as it
actually,
happened? Like
oh,
I was
dude, yes, without a
not
doubt.
as because as a completely independent fan watching this game indifferent, I I was almost like, wait, like the series is over? Like it didn't feel like it really like that. It was as it was happening. I was like, what in the world? Like it took me like a little second. The Dodgers started celebrating. I'm like, wow, they, that's actually the series on that play. It was. I mean, that was just that's a crazy way to lose. I mean, as a fan,
Yeah, I mean,
that's
as a
heartbreaking.
fan, listen, we've had some of these over the years. We've had the super weird Patrick Kane goal in the Stanley Cup Final in 2010, Game Six. We've of course had the Kawhi shot. We've had
Yeah,
the
not close.
James Bradbury Phantom holds, the Alshon Jeffrey drop. There's a lot of them.
So
This
much
was just
worse.
more of a well, it's worse because this was more of a choke job. Like in those other
Self
instances,
destructive. Yeah.
yes, in those other instances, it was good players stepping up and albeit like wonky game winning hits or goals or whatever the
Well,
case
yeah, yeah,
is. It was still just the other team taking advantage of an opportunity to win the game.
yeah.
Whereas with this, it was just it was gagged away by Kirkering, and you know this might seem a little revisionist history, but I wasn't as upset as most people. Um,
Because you expected them to lose. Isn't
because
that
I
what it was?
expected them to lose. Yes, I expected them to lose, and like also, I mean, just like they were running out of arms. Like it wasn't a sustainable thing to keep. I felt like the longer the game went on, just the the more
Dodgers
the
advantage. Yep,
advantage
I agree.
was leaning to the Dodgers. So I kind of felt it slipping away. That just the again the at bats were just atrocious all game long. Like the offense,
Yep.
just the approach from the Phillies hitters was really bad. So I was expecting them to lose, but I mean it was definitely a super crappy way to lose the game. I actually felt pretty bad for the kid.
Yeah.
I
I was
mean
gonna be
some
my next
people are
question. Like, you're not are you mad at him? You're not like are you mad at Kirkering?
again not really.
But
I
most
mean
people are.
I'm de-
Most Philly
I'm
fans are.
I'm definitely very like annoyed at him, but like again, if this was I don't know if this was like I was a lot more mad at James Bradbury for that hold in the Super Bowl because again I didn't expect them to win. So like how mad could you really be at the guy? You want to know what made me a lot more mad? The thing that makes me the most mad about that game.
I, I do want to
Um,
know.
so when it was the bottom of the seventh inning, Phillies were up 1-0. Sanchez still in there pitching well, and he struck. I forget who it was, but he struck somebody out, and they called it a ball. And that hitter ended up walking and scoring the tying run. And I just thought it was an awful, awful call by the ump. And it was pretty much clear as day. Strike three would have been a call. Strike three on the inside corner. They didn't call it. And then Sanchez walked another guy. He left the game, and then Duran comes in and walked with the bases loaded, and that was the tying run. So
Mookie Bet. He walked
that makes
Mookie with the bases loaded.
yes, and so that makes me way more mad than some kid like just having an all time blunder.
Yeah, I get that. We have the technology for that not to happen. That's unnecessary. There's no reason for a strike to be called a ball.
Yeah, I know. We've had this conversation many times.
Yeah. So all right. So the one thing that I think is different about this year, and why wouldn't copy and paste our conversation from last year, is because the core really seems like it's done this time. And the reason is because of the contractual situation, which I want to get to in a second, or I want to get to actually probably at the very end of this. But why do you think? Is there anything that you can pinpoint and say this is why this core could not win a World Series, or why they did not win a World Series? Or do you think it's just random different stuff every year?
Well, it seems to be. So they went to the World Series in 2022. The at bats were just a lot better. They were stringing together a lot more hits. This year, I almost like, not that I want to give them a pass, but again, I think they ran into an all-time great team. I think the Trey Turner thing, people aren't really, I don't hear a lot of people talking about, Trey Turner hurt his hamstring and was out the entire month of September. He came back the last day of the season, but no one's really playing that day or really trying super hard that day. So I think that really hurt them. His at bats just didn't really seem very Trey Turner like.
Nope.
But they just picked a very bad time to go cold.
All of them, like Schwarber and Harper, going really
all
cold at the same time.
Yep. Yeah, and the depth, the depth couldn't hold up. They couldn't hold up their end of the bargain. Again,
yeah, I agree.
You juxtapose that with the Dodgers, who it's Kike and it's Tommy Edman and it's Will Smith. Obviously the top three in Ohtani, Betts, and Freeman are terrifying, but it's the other guys that got all the hits for him. I think Ohtani was like 1 for 19 or something like that.
The Phillies did a great job. Phillies did a great job on Ohtani.
They did a great job. That's another thing that I didn't like about that game was that they intentionally walked Ohtani in the 7th inning, and I thought
to load
that
the
was
bases.
Kind of stupid, right? And it's like, you got Duran. Yeah. Duran's been great for them since they got him. I get it, righty lefty. Just go get him.
It's not just righty lefty though. It's, even though Ohtani's having a bad series, he's one of the 3 most terrifying hitters in the game.
Yeah,
but it's a tough decision because I'm a proponent of never intentionally walking the bases loaded.
Agreed. Yes, and I do, especially with no, I wouldn't say never, but in this spot, it's
not never, it's literally never, but in most situations. And I do think it's also Duran is nasty stuff. Let him try to throw, get Ohtani to chase. Maybe Ohtani comes up and chases on the first pitch. It's 0-1. Now you have an 0-1. Let the bat play out. Maybe Ohtani takes 2 pitches. It's 2-0. Then you intentionally walk him.
Yes, 1,000%, dude. 1,000%. Yeah,
so
I totally agree.
Yeah, so it backfired because Duran walked Mookie Betts, and Mookie put up a bat. Give him credit, but walking a guy happens. Agree. Elite relievers walk guys. I don't really hold Duran like that against. I mean, you got to be careful. It's 3-2. You can't just throw a fastball over the plate to Mookie. So you got to be careful.
Yeah.
But yeah, I do feel like the game was, even though that only tied the game, I do feel like that if the Phillies were able to get out of that situation, I think they would have won that game. I don't know if they would have won Game 5, but I think they would have won that game.
Yeah, I guess we'll never know.
Nope.
So back to your question, I mean, I don't know that it's fair to say that the core can't win a title. They came.
No, why
really
didn't
close
they win?
To
is the better question. Yeah,
why didn't they?
They could.
Is because they didn't have the depth, and because their top 3 in the lineup just didn't perform when it mattered most. And I'm specifically, this year specifically, again, I give Trey Turner a little bit of a pass, but yeah, this year is squarely on Schwarber and Bryce. And they couldn't, I mean, they were awful, except for the one, the game that they won, Game 3.
The one game they won, yeah.
The top 3.
Yeah.
But outside of that, they were really bad. And again, they didn't have the Stotts and the Bohms, they didn't have these guys behind them picking them up.
Yeah, I think that's it though. I think the reason why this core didn't win is because they never really developed this depth. They never built out the depth they were just too reliant on the top guys. And the core also in itself changed because Casty was part of the core a couple of years ago. Obviously, he's no longer. JT Realmuto was clearly part of the core. He obviously is nowhere near the offensive player he once was. So the core kind of changed as well as Schwarber elevated himself.
Although, what's funny is that those 2 names that you just mentioned were by far their 2 best hitters in the playoffs.
I know.
JT and
Castellanos.
Isn't that funny?
I know. It is funny. It is for sure. All right. Let's talk.
I'll tell you
All
one
right.
more thing. I want to say this that I don't really hear a lot of people talking about this. Can I tell you one person who I think like really screwed them and that they really missed big time in this series with the Dodgers?
Zach Wheeler.
That's the obvious one. That's not who I'm thinking of though.
Oh, Alvarado.
Alvarado. Absolutely.
Oh,
Absolutely,
they.
man.
I
Really,
agree.
really you could have used their second best reliever in this
Yes,
series,
for
you know.
sure.
The
For
whole
sure.
David Robertson fiasco in game 1 could have been different. Um, even game 4, just with the Christopher Sanchez going right to Duran, that could have been different. Maybe you pull Sanchez at the start of the inning. You give Hope Alvarado the 7th and Duran the 8th and 9th. It just really could have been different, but it wasn't.
Alvarado would have been a huge weapon in the series for the Otani Freddie lanes.
Mm-hmm.
For sure.
Shame.
That's good.
Yep.
That's a good point. All right, let's talk general manager and manager. So we got Dombo, right? We got Dave Dombrowski, and we have Rob Thomson, the manager. Two things. Twofold question. Do you want them both back? And what do you think the Phillies will do?
I want the general manager back. I'm good with Dombrowski. I would like to see him just get a little bit more aggressive. Both specifically at the trade deadline, he really hasn't done much in his tenure here. This year was probably the biggest splash that he made at the trade deadline, and it wasn't anything too crazy. Duran's great; he's awesome, and Bader's like a solid role player. But I wouldn't consider that like an all-time major splash. It wasn't a Eugenio Suarez, who was the big name at the trade deadline this year. So,
And was horrible, by the way, after he was acquired. I don't know if you knew that. Awful.
Yeah. Yep.
Which is not that surprising to me, but anyway.
Yeah. Yeah, so I would like to see him get a little bit more aggressive. I mean, you know me, like you can take literally any prospect, just take your pick. You can have 20 prospects. Just give me your good player. Like, it's fine, and figure it out from there. Thomson, I'm kind of good on. I mean, the players seem to like him. I don't really know that the manager has like too much impact. I think Thomson seems to be a good regular season manager. The team likes him. They seem to really play for him. Like regular season decisions, I can
You don't get
I can live with. I don't really care. I mean, there's so much that goes into it. It's such a long season, but like,
and there's so much that we don't know as fans. We don't know what's going on with
the
players and stuff. So
yes, but with that being said, I mean, this guy has clearly made some really bad managerial decisions in the playoffs since he became the manager of the Phillies, and a lot of them, like, again, so some of the regular season stuff, again, like you can understand, and there's logic behind it. Like bullpen usage. Okay, well, you don't want to burn all your arms out. Like, it's pretty easy, right? But yeah, some of this playoff stuff just really made no sense, and we don't have to go over it because I bitched and moaned on it in our last podcast, but yeah, I mean, these decisions were like really bad. The Robertson decision, game 1, was awful. There's a litany of other ones, but I just don't.
But you don't feel strongly that they should move on from him, right? You're not at that point.
I don't. I mean, I would just like to see him make better decisions because again, the team likes him. They're going to play hard for him. He's managed 2 straight division titles.
Exactly. That's not a small thing. That's a great accomplishment.
It's not, especially in the division with it's not like a super easy division. So
it's not the AL Central it's a
right.
legitimately very good division almost every year. And these last 2 years, it's been very good.
Yeah, so that's impressive, and it's great, and that shouldn't be overlooked. But what also shouldn't be overlooked are some of these really stupid decisions that he's made in the postseason, and not just this year. Like, you can go back even to 2022. So
yeah. What's your take on what the Phillies will do? They'll bring both of them back, you think?
Yeah, I think they'll bring both of them back. I think that, call me crazy. I think that the team is going to look really similar next year. I think they're going to do what they've done for
Let's
the
get into that.
past. I think they're going to do what they've done for the past 3 off seasons. They're going to make some minor tweaks here and there. They're going to let a reliever go. They're going to bring a reliever back. I mean, I'm sure someone, maybe a Castellanos is no longer there. Maybe they move like a Bryson Stott or something like that, Alec Bohm, but I think it's largely going to be the same cast of characters.
Really?
Yeah.
Let's talk. That actually goes right into our final segment. I want to talk about this.
Okay.
The pending free agents for the Phillies: Kyle Schwarber, one of the top 5 hitters in Major League Baseball.
Mm-hmm.
JT Realmuto, a declining offensive player with still really good framing metrics, really good pop time, great at throwing out runners. Ranger Suarez, who's coming off his best season of his career, a really good starting pitcher. Max Kepler, 1 year that he's gone. That was a terrible experiment, didn't work.
Mm-hmm.
And then obviously David Robertson, who I know you're ready to move on from completely. They also have a $9 million team option for Jose Alvarado. So those are a lot of decisions and a lot of potential money because Schwarber, even though he's a DH, is coming off this crazy season. He's established himself as one of the elite hitters in the game. He's going to get paid pretty big money, at least very big money for a DH. And even if you lose Realmuto, you need a catcher. Even if you let him go, you're like, I'm ready to move on. Well, you got to address catcher. You're probably, realistically, if you're putting all this money in Kyle Schwarber, are you really spending big on Ranger Suarez when you have Wheeler, Nola, Sanchez as your top 3? Probably not. I don't think that really makes much sense. And then you're going to have to do something about the bullpen. Aside from Alvarado, you probably pick up that club option. Then you still need another reliever or 2. I don't know. You think most? Are you just expecting they just bring back Schwarber, Realmuto? Are you just expecting these guys to come back?
Largely, yeah. Until I see otherwise. This regime has done things pretty much status quo the past 3 off seasons, and I get it. It's a little bit different now with the contracts, the contractual situation coming up. But I don't know. I did hear. So Ruben Amaro, you know who that is?
Of course, former Phillies GM.
Yeah. So
Yep,
he's on. He's on. He goes on WIP a lot, and he's still pretty plugged in, pretty connected with what goes on there. And he like really all but said today that expect one of the big contracts in the Phillies to be moved. So I don't know if that means traded
Bryce, Trey, or Nola or Wheeler. Those are the big contracts.
I don't know.
Unless he considers Casty a big contract, but Casty has 1 year left at $20 million. I would expect him to be traded or maybe even DFA'd if they can.
Yeah,
I don't know. I mean, he has no trade value. Casty has absolutely no trade value. So you're gonna maybe you trade him to someone and you get nothing back and you eat some of the money.
Right. Yeah, I'd be on board for that. Sure.
But no one wants Casty for $20 million right now. He's worth about $4 million.
Great signing.
Out of those, well, he did have some good seasons though. He did contribute. Okay. Anyway, without diving into Casty's, out of those free agents, Schwarber, Realmuto, Suarez, Kepler, David Robertson, obviously the priority is Schwarber, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. My expectation is that they bring back Schwarber and every one of those other guys are gone. And I don't know about. I'm sure they'd love to move on from Casty. They would have to eat money or DFA him completely to do that. Probably trade him and eat most of the contract. And I don't think they're going to bring back Realmuto. I think there's going to be a team out there that wants a veteran righty catcher that's going to pay him give him a 3-year deal that he wants, or maybe a 4-year deal that he wants. And I don't think the Phillies are going to do that. I think the Phillies are probably going to go in a different direction for a catcher. And again, like I said, I as great as Ranger Suarez is, I don't see how it makes sense to use your resources, financial resources, on a starting pitcher when you have 3 guys who are really good. I know you might not say Nola's really good, but you have 3 guys at the top of your rotation who are either really good or getting paid to be really good.
4.
Who am I forgetting?
Wheeler, Luzardo.
Oh yeah, I forgot Luzardo. Oh yeah, 4. Oh yeah, even more so. I completely forgot about Luzardo. Yeah. So I don't think it makes sense to pay. Suarez is going to get a pretty good deal. I don't think it makes sense for the Phillies. So I think he'll
Yeah.
be gone. And obviously you don't care about Kepler and D-Rob. So
Yeah.
I think it's going to be a different roster. And
Yeah. Well, the thing
Bowman's an interesting one.
different. So different. My fear is that different doesn't necessarily mean better. So like you lose a lot of these guys, it's kind of what the Eagles are going through now, where they lost a lot of their guys from the Super Bowl team, and they just replaced them with dudes. Like they didn't they downgraded. A lot of these people, if they lose, it ends up being a downgrade. So that could very likely happen, and then they're just in a worse spot during the regular season, and that's why it kind of feels like it's the end of the core to people who feel that way.
Yep, I agree with that for sure. I don't know what they do. I mean, they have some players they could trade. Bohm is a solid player. You can get something from him if you want to move on from him, but I don't know what your answer is at third base then if you're moving on from Bohm.
Right.
So is it going to be better? I think that's an area they can improve. I think they need to improve the outfield. I mean, they have Bader, right? What's Bader's contract situation? I think he has a mutual option. So Bader might be a free agent also. And then they have Brandon Marsh under contract for 2 more years. They have Cassie. They're going to have to do something with the outfield. They need to get an impact player that can hit and field in the outfield. They don't really have a player right now that could do both. I know Bader did at post trade, but for his career, he's never been a good hitter. And he's also a guy who gets hurt a lot. So they need to address the outfield. They need to get someone who can actually be solid all around player. Bring back Schwarber, and then if they want to improve somewhere in the infield, I think Bohm's the answer. By the way, I don't know if you noticed this. We've talked about how Trey Turner's bad defensively. Trey Turner had an amazing bounce back season defensively. Maybe the best season metrically that he's had at shortstop. Kind of crazy.
Wow.
Yeah. Really good. I don't know if that was noticeable on the eye test.
Not necessarily.
Yeah, it was really good. So the Phillies have a big offseason, a lot of work to do. What's the reaction going to be if they lost Schwarber? Do you think Phillies fans are going to be angry about it?
I think they would be upset about it. But right now, as it stands, like people are really mad at Schwarber because he was awful
because of his
in the
postseason.
playoffs. So yeah. So unfortunately, although for how great he was, the lasting taste in our mouths right now is this guy really sucked when we needed him the most.
Yeah, I get that. Well, all right. We mourn the Phillies. Any last thoughts?
Let's go 76ers. They're our only hope.
Yeah. The Eagles aren't your only hope. Everyone, thanks for tuning in. Please give us a like. Please subscribe. We'll see you next time.
Philly pride and Sistad soul, Andrew rapping and wild bulls. Together they talk sports and dreams, right behind the scenes. It seems Philly verse and why, hear the call, who's the greatest, who will fall with this rivalry. Loud and clear, join the chat, it's time to cheer. Sports and culture all in one, catch the fire, feel the fun. Andrew, Sistad, Brad unite, Philly and Wyatt.